Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Oh. You don't have to go.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hey, I should be singing a Eddie Van Halen song. What went wrong? So sad. I never met Eddie Van Halen. But my dad kind of did. He lived up the street from Valerie Bertinelli. This is true. In Studio City. And apparently, I guess, he lived really close to
Mike's Daily Podcast.
My dad lived close to this lady he had known for a long time named Jerry. A woman named Jerry. Back in the day, they named women
Mike's
Jerry.
Daily
And Jerry
Podcast.
I had once met
at
the filming of Bad News Bears and Breaking Training. Yes. They were filming that movie somewhere in Chatsworth. I think it was more like Northridge. And my dad was babysitting me, watching me because it was summer and my summer camp school thing was out. So mom, because she was divorced, said, "Hey, ex-husband, watch Mike." I can't. I'm an extra in the movie Bad News Bears and Breaking Training with Walter Matthau. And I believe my dad once did tell me he played cards with Walter Matthau. I wonder if this was the movie that happened. I can't ask him, sadly. But so Jerry was there, and my dad's like, "Hey, you remember Jerry?" And I go, "Hey, Jerry." And she was knitting. And they were basically the people in the audience, the stands of the, the Little League team, watching the Little League team. It's a fun movie. It's a movie that could not be, it was tried. They tried to make it again, and it just wasn't the same, obviously. Very seldom do they ever get it right twice. So this lady, Jerry, one day was trying to bring her garbage cans outside, and Valerie Bertinelli lived like right next door to her.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And Jerry was pretty old at this point, and Eddie Van Halen got out of his car as he was driving to visit Valerie, his ex-wife, and visit their son, Wolfie. And he got out of the car and helped Jerry take her garbage cans out. Now, my dad told me this story because Jerry had told it to him. And then my dad, of course, ended that story with, "Do you know who Eddie Van Halen is?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know. I play his..." Well, at that point, because I had been in radio for a couple of years in the late 80s, Basil. I guess Basil, he was only a fan of the early Van Halen, not the Van Hagar days. To each his own, Basil, to each his own. Yes, but so in the late 80s, when I was getting started in radio, I used to have to run the Country Countdown show. Not the Country Countdown. I did have to do that too later on in the 90s, but in the 80s I was running what was the Casey Kasem show? Casey's American Top 40, thank you. So I used to have to run American Top 40, Casey Kasem. And I remember at that time, there was a bunch of songs that got popular by Van Halen. Back at that point, it was Van Hagar. And let's see, actually, you know what? I think this is in the days that Casey Kasem had left American Top 40, and he was doing his own show called the Casey Countdown Show. So neither matters. There was a song called, I think it was called Black and Blue. Was that it? Yeah, I think that was from, was this the one? Yes, OU812, the very first single off of that album was Black and Blue. And that song climbed the charts. I think it got as high as the top 20. But I remember us playing the song on the Countdown show, but yet we were not playing the song in rotation. Even though we were like a top 40 station, we should be playing what the top 40 show was playing. We were not. Our loss. This was in like 88, I think. So that song did pretty well. And then they came out with When It's Love. How do you know when it's love? I can't tell you, but it lasts forever. When it's love. Dun, 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 dun. That song, I think, went all the way to number 1. I remember there was a story. I think now at this point it was Shadoe Stevens took over the show from Casey Kasem, and he said that Mark Anthony, the bass player for Van Halen, there was a joke where the band said, hey, let's all shave our heads. And those guys had amazing hair at that time in the 80s. Dang. Eddie had great hair to the end. Sammy has great hair still. They go, let's shave our heads. And Mark Anthony was just about to do it. And the thing is, he didn't realize it was a joke. And he almost shaved his head. And Mark Anthony, I don't think has his real hair anymore. He was losing it back in the 80s. So that was a joke. I remember that story and thinking, I'll never lose my hair. You might be wondering, Mike, why haven't you done a show in a while? Well, there you go. I've been busy. Life's been busy. I took a nice day off. In fact, that's probably going to be the podcast picture is one of my excursions. I went with my lovely lady friend to Pescadero, south of Half Moon Bay, and had such a wonderful time. They've got a radio station there, though, KPDO, and they got a tiny little transmitter. That was funny to see that. It's all run with funds from the local folks that donate, and I guess you can listen to it online on the internet. And I'll get a podcast picture for you. I think we'll go, I don't know if we'll go with Pescadero. Shall we go with Pescadero? Maybe me petting the donkey. I got to pet a donkey. Actually, how about, there are so many pictures from this trip, and I've warned my listeners that I see in person daily that listen to Mike's Daily Podcast. I have warned them, you will see a lot of pictures from this trip on Wednesday. But I was quite busy with all of this planning the trip. And then this was a very busy week. All kinds of stuff happened. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley today. One of the things you may remember from the last podcast had to do with someone not showing up for work. And I had to rush down to Fremont to do their job, and that led to a bunch of other problems that I had to take care of this week. So let's go with a podcast picture from this cool little barn they got in we went to a barn called Harley Farms is where we went to. You know what? I can't post this picture. Dang it. I'm going to get a complaint. I'm going to get vetoed by my lovely lady friend. She's not going to like this picture. Oh, this one she'll like. Yes, okay. They've got this old barn, and the reason why I wasn't going to have to, because, see, I don't have to worry about this anymore because I do not have hair, but she does, and she might veto it because her hair was kind of doing there's a couple strands out of place. She would said something like, don't show pictures, only show pictures where I've combed my hair. But she's not that vain. I take that back. I don't have that issue to worry about. No, this is a cute picture. They've got this little logo of a goat jumping or something. And it's a stained glass window, and you'll see it at mikesdailypodcast.com. Words cannot describe this cool picture in the old wood because we're in the loft, is what I meant to say. Loft is probably what we'll call this show, because I like that word. Loft. And I've stayed at an A-Loft. That's run by the W Hotel, or it used to be anyway. I've stayed at some nice A-Lofts. There was one in Portland. I should post a picture from that sometime. So my lovely lady friend and I at this loft of a barn in Pescadero. You'll see it at mikesdailypodcast.com, and I will post other pictures from that wonderful trip with my lovely lady friend. And we took Basil along with us. He's passed away, but we have him in a beautiful little wood box that we take with us to places that he would have liked. And there was this beach He loved the beach in Half Moon Bay. Although we didn't take him to the exact beach that we used to take him to all the time, we have not been back to that beach since we had him. It was going to be a little too emotional to go back to that particular beach, Poplar Beach, and I have so many pictures of him from Poplar Beach. But we found this beautiful beach near Pescadero that nobody was on. It was like a tiny cove almost, and I'm going to call this Basil's Cove. I'll post some pictures from that. And then I found out that a coworker that I work with, he said that he was possibly at that exact same beach. So Basil's Cove is known by many, but I'll post a picture of that in the future soon. But a lot of stuff happened, so we lost the great Eddie Van Halen. What a great guitarist. His songs, just great rock songs, full of energy, full of fun. That's what he was all about, and I hope he had a fun life. I also know another story. There was a guy I knew who, now I'm thinking now this was a friend of a friend or somebody, but I remember something having to do with someone going fishing on a chartered fishing boat from Channel Islands Harbor, or possibly Ventura, one of the two, but in the general Ventura County area, went fishing on this chartered fishing boat that you could go out, and Eddie Van Halen happened to be on the same boat with a friend of his, and they talked to him for a while. And I remember from this account that at that point Eddie was not looking that well, and this was all the way back in the 90s, so make of that what you will. But then that evening that my lovely lady friend had gone to Pescadero was the vice presidential debate, which we caught just a little bit. We caught most of the fun part really is listening to all the talking heads talk about it, or all the commentators make their commentary. And then suddenly we heard about the fly on Mike Pence's head. And then the jokes went crazy, and then everybody talking about the fly and coming up with songs having to do with flies. And I thought immediately of U2's Fly from Achtung Baby. Oh, and then there's I Just Wanna Fly by Sugar Ray. There's still actually a lot of fly songs when you start to think about it. There's the Learning to Fly, but that's not a fly, by Tom Petty. I don't know why I swallowed the fly. I guess I'll die. What? Oh, one other funny thing about my lovely lady friend. So we were listening to that wonderful commentary about the vice presidential debate that we had just missed, hearing about the fly. And I know it was more than just about the fly. It's about where we're going to take this country direction-wise, and what we're going to do, how we're going to move forward, how we're going to keep this country aloft. But my lovely lady friend was saying to me, because, here we go. We're already starting to hear all about a second wave of the coronavirus. Maybe it's happening now. Although a lot of people are going back to work. And a lot of stuff, like, for example, the local AC Transit, the bus service in the East Bay, they are now they're now going to start charging you. I had no idea for the past 6 months they have been letting you ride the bus for free. There is such a thing as a free ride, apparently. But now they're going to start charging you. So I guess something is changing, something is getting better, and a lot of people are coming back to work where I work. But if there is a second wave of all this and we start hoarding toilet paper again, I've got my supplies. I've got a lot of toilet paper this time. In fact, I bought a whole other pack of toilet paper from Costco over the weekend, and my lovely lady friend said, we don't need toilet paper. If we run out, there's always the shower. Turn the shower into an instant bidet. Bidet! That's a little extra work. I guess the whole bidet thing is, gotta dry yourself off. Although some of those bidets are self-drying. Look who's outside a cafe anyway. Hi, Mark! It's Benita the rodeo queen! How you doing?
It's a Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what.
What?
I think that Mike Pence did a great job, and Kamala Harris interrupted him all the time, and the media is trying to make Mike Pence look like an idiot. He didn't know that fly was on his head.
Uh-huh. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. It's the Brewmaster. I make delicious root beer. Have some right now.
Is there any flies in it?
Nah. Drink it or I'll cut you.
I don't want flies in my root beer. Next show, it's going to be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. And don't forget that this weekend, and sorry, by the way, I haven't been able to do the podcast. That really bugs me when I can't do it. But there's just a lot of stuff. Like, I still got to put license plates. The license plates I talked about earlier. I think it was last week's podcast. I was like, I got to put my new license plates on. I still haven't done it yet, and I got to do it so I don't get another ticket this year. So just stuff. It gets in my way. So I will try and bring you a new show soon. But tell me what you think about all of what we covered. 336mm Daily, 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM is in Mike Matthews Daily, as in what this podcast tries to be. It is Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley next show. And on Sunday, you can hear me at kkdv.com from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. And you can find out more about that at the website. This is A-Frame with more.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
And that was episode 2134, 2134, and see all the past podcasts, pictures, and listen to the podcast at mikesdailypodcast.com.